You gonna do the sound?
Are we gonna?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Drive Pink Dialogue, episode number 107. That was a very special intro. Thanks to our wonderful co-host and friend, Saur. Thank you so much for putting that together. I enjoyed it as much as I'm sure you enjoyed putting it together for all of us. So thank you for that. Tonight, we are talking about Inter Miami's 3-1 victory over Sporting Kansas City. Last night's game, we're going to break it down. We had a chance to rewatch it, and we've got some awards and new thoughts and reactions and all that stuff. And so I'm very excited for tonight's episode. But as always, I'm your host, Scotty. I'm here with my co-host, Saur. Saur, how are you feeling tonight, my man?
Now, after that intro, we can safely say that I'm no longer your friend. And if you continue to do this over the next few podcasts, then we will be able to say that I'm no longer the co-host as well, because I will hand in my resignation letter if you continue to surprise me, especially with videos of myself singing to this intro song. That was god-awful. I apologize to every viewer and listener who tuned into this, and I promise we will do better next time. Regardless, we're here to talk about Inter Miami, and one thing's clear, we're winning the CONCACAF Champions Cup.
If you guys missed the first 10 seconds, I encourage you to go back and watch it. Worth it, in my opinion. Okay, there are some things we have to get into before we get into this game. I think just touch points for Inter Miami. First off, let's start with Fafa Picault. I think some good reporting earlier today that he's actually in better shape than I think was the initial diagnosis. I watched him pull up with a hamstring injury on Saturday night, and I thought he's going to be out for 6 weeks, which feels like the typical time for a hamstring injury to occur. We saw a video of him on the zero gravity treadmill today. He looks like he's already better. He's talking about how he's going to be back in the next couple of weeks. So I think we should expect on the shorter side for Fafa Picault. No update on Cello Weekend, but I also assume he's going to be, a month or so. So good news on the injury front. I thought there was at least a chance that Inter Miami was heading towards a disastrous open to the season in terms of injuries, which I think is the only thing that's going to derail this early part of the season. Fafa Picault in good shape and should be back in a couple weeks.
Yeah, very positive news. I like the fact that we were forced to use Robert Taylor a bit more, but it's always good to have players available. Can't wait for Fafa to actually come back and put on a good show for us, because he missed out on a fantastic professional debut for Inter Miami. But I don't have a doubt in my mind that once he's back, it's going to be great. Great weapon to have off the bench as well as from the starting 11. Any news on Yannick Bright?
No news on Yannick Bright. He did have, when he walked in the stadium, he had a pretty nice, healthy bandage on that leg. It's right above the knee. So he's walking and everything seems normal from that perspective, but he hasn't trained, as far as we know, up until yesterday's game. And so I don't think there's a ton of optimism at this moment that he's going to be available for Sunday's game, but that could, of course, change over the course of this week. And we'll talk about Federico Redondo, who I think has done an admirable job in the meantime. Next, and actually, we'll just bring this up because Cringe puts it in the chat. I don't know if this is a topic for tonight, and it wasn't, but Diego Gómez is absolutely tearing it up in the Premier League. Have you gotten a chance to see him with Brighton so far?
No, I've given up on the Premier League for a little bit. I need a mental sanity, so I'm checked out from there. But I'm not surprised, man. I've looked at his stats from time to time, and he's always performing really well. Still hasn't scored, I believe, for Brighton or assisted, but he's been performing well and getting opportunities off the bench. Before you know it, I think he might actually start a game for Brighton, and that's going to be a heck of a day for Diego Gómez and Inter Miami fans for sure.
Considering how he started in his Inter Miami career, which felt slow, this is an incredible start. And as Cringe mentions, he has actually started for Brighton.
Yeah, I take that back. I just saw that.
It's been a great. His last 4 games, he's gotten 3 really positive reviews. So he's been doing an incredible job. One of those was an FA Cup game, but it was against Chelsea. So I mean, this player has really stepped into the Premier League and made a really good name for himself. And again, remember, we were playing this guy out of position for the second half of last season. I think that may have been the biggest tragedy of Tata Martino's 2024 season. But yeah, Diego Gómez doing good things. And thank you so much for bringing that up, Cringe, because I think that's awesome for us to sort of reminisce on. And I think we can get that out of sight, out of mind if we're not paying too close of attention. So I appreciate that. The next thing I want to talk about is Alan Obando. I got that update today that he is still in Ecuador. He's training with Barcelona de Guayaquil as part of just the process, but his move to Atletico Madrid is official, and his move to Inter Miami is becoming official. He's waiting for his visa and work permit and all that stuff. That is already in process, and so he's going to join Inter Miami as soon as that becomes official. So that is happening. It's going to happen over the next couple of days. I mean, we've seen it can take up to 2 weeks for this process, so maybe we're going to wait another week and a half until it becomes official. But that's happening. Any doubt that he was going to come soon or was going to come in the summer or anything like that, that's not happening. He's coming over the next 10 to 14 days, I would say, before it becomes official, if not sooner.
Oh, needed very soon. I can't wait for him to come. Of course, I've already spoken my mind about Luis Suárez, and tonight you're probably going to hammer me for talking ill, but we need a backup striker. Can't wait for him to be here.
No, we do need a backup striker. We'll talk about Tadeo Allende as well tonight, but this is going to be a super exciting signing, and it's a guy that, from a depth perspective, from a depth chart perspective, I think we really needed. There's a ton of depth on this team, but the striker position feels like the one spot where there's maybe a lack of committed depth to that position. So Alan Obando is going to solve that basically immediately, and I'm very excited for that. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was Inter Miami won the CONCACAF Champions Cup round 1 last night against Sporting Kansas City. Obviously, we'll talk about that more. But what that means is Inter Miami is going to get 2 games against the Cavalier SC of the Jamaican Premier League. They won the Jamaican Premier League last year and then won the Caribbean Cup, I believe, in order to qualify for the CONCACAF Champions Cup. And by doing that, they actually earned the home field advantage in that tie over Inter Miami, even though Inter Miami is much higher rated in the CONCACAF standings. That game, the first game will be next Thursday. It'll be at Chase Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. It'll be the following Thursday that Inter Miami travels to Jamaica. That'll be March 13th. So put it on the schedule, but we knew they were going to get this midweek game against Cavalier. It's going to be next Thursday. I don't think the time has been released yet, but Inter Miami is going to get 5 days between games, last night to Sunday, and then they'll get another 4 days off, 3.5 days off before they have to play at Cavalier. So these very tight, congested schedules are going to open up just a wee bit, even though we're still playing 2 games a week. So put those 2 games on your schedule and make sure you make them appointment viewing.
Hey, you know what? As long as Inter Miami keeps winning, I don't care if they play every day and we have to do this podcast every day. It's exciting. It's fun. I love the back-to-back games. We cried about not having any game in preseason in the off-season, and now that it's here, I don't want to cry about having a game every third day. So bring it on. And you know what? Before we even know it, Inter Miami might be competing for their first trophy this season, and that's what I'm hoping for. So as long as the schedule's back but we keep winning, I'm going to be happy.
This is something else I just wanted to mention because Inter Miami has such incredible squad depth, but I was thinking about this after last night's game. I don't think I mentioned it on the chat, but the 5 players that came to Inter Miami, came off the bench for Inter Miami last night: Noah Allen, Benjamin Kramaski, Gonzalo Lujan, David Ruiz, and Robert Taylor. All 5 of those players start for Sporting Kansas City. All 5 of them. And then I actually would add David Martinez and Julian Gressel from the bench, from Inter Miami's bench, into Sporting KC's starting rotation, so starting lineup. So when you want to talk about depth, when you want to talk about playing a ton of games, this Inter Miami roster has the depth to rotate and still provide results. Obviously, Messi's going to play in the CONCACAF Champions Cup games, but when you're talking about those MLS games, when you're talking about those second games of the week in terms of importance, there is so much quality on this roster to be able to rotate. And again, more incoming soon with Alan Obando, and we expect Baltasar Rodriguez as well, although I couldn't get an update on Baltasar. It's a great team. It's a great lineup. And last night was a great game. You ready to get into it?
Yeah, but before we do, I think you're understating how good a team this is. We had a great team last season. The depth was great. We spoke about it yesterday a little bit, and I think we're going to allude to this every single game that we do whenever we see the lineup. At any point this season, it doesn't feel like we have a underwhelming team. Every lineup that's been put out, I've been fairly satisfied with that. Of course, you can make changes here and there. but the players that we saw as second tier last season have taken a bit of a step up. And it feels like we have two MLS level quality starting 11s that we can put out there. And that is absolutely incredible. And I don't think by any means that is an understatement. So now we can get into the game.
One more thing I wanted to mention about Cavalier. I wanted to mention while we were talking about them. They played FC Cincinnati last year in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. So if you wanted to get a sense of how good they are, they lost the home leg in Jamaica 2-0, and they lost the away leg in Cincinnati 4-0. So overall in the tie, 6-0 to FC Cincinnati. Take that for what you want to make it for, but that's what their recent performance against a quality MLS team looked like in this tournament a year ago. And so if you're nervous or if you're scared, that's what it is. And we'll try and get a quality preview together for next Thursday's game. I don't know how easy that will be, but we'll spend some time this weekend and early next week.
Worst case scenario, we'll just banter our way to 1 hour, right? That's what we'll do.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have some ideas. We'll put together something of quality, but it may be a step down from our normal ability to break down each player and everything. So we will see. But yeah, okay, let's get into it. Any first thoughts before I sort of run through this recap?
No, positive all around. 3-0 or 3-1. Technically, we gave them that goal. So overall, a good game from us, professional game from us. It looked a little bit leggy at times, and I thought the fatigue sort of set in. Kansas didn't go away that easily, especially in that first half. But once we scored a couple of goals, it was basically game, set, and match. Glad we're on to the next round. Just need to keep building up from there. I like the fact that we're going game from game, getting better and better and better.
Yeah, I know. And some things that the consistency in what we're trying to do, I really like. Okay, you ready to do this, man?
Absolutely.
Okay, Inter Miami takes on Sporting Kansas City. They have a 1-0 lead going into the game because of what happened a week ago in the freezing cold, and it doesn't take them long to really feel like they put this tie away. 19th minute, Lionel Messi pushes the ball forward to Luis Suárez, who doesn't quite have the athleticism to turn the corner, but he has the class to look up and loft a ball to Lionel Messi, catches it off his chest, lets it bounce once, and then off the volley, fires it past John Pulskamp. Inter Miami goes up 2-0, and it almost feels like this time might be over, except Sporting Kansas City didn't feel that way at all. They start to become the aggressor in this game, take over possession, are the ones creating chances. 29th minute feels like it's going to be the moment. Dejan Joveljic finds himself in the box and shoots the equalizer, but only to watch Maxi Falcone on the line to deflect it. Heartbreak for Sporting Kansas City, but their moment comes in the 40th minute. Joveljic again makes the run. Oscar Ustadi can't quite collect the ball, and Joveljic puts away the rebound. But again, heartbreak as it's called offside. Still down 2-0, and that's when Inter Miami really puts the knife in the heart. First minute of stoppage time, Messi pushes it wide to Jordi Alba, who finds Tadeo Allende in front of goal for the tap-in. 2-0 for Inter Miami, and then 3-0 just 2 minutes later. Jake Davis mishits the ball. Robert Volador could not read it efficiently, and that leaves the wily veteran Luis Suárez, who bodies off Volador to create his own shot and to create his own goal. Second half, it's time for fun for Inter Miami. 51st minute, a chance to score. Segovia with a great pass to Lionel Messi, but John Pulskamp just happens to be standing in the right spot. Another fun moment in the 54th minute, Jordi Alba with a volley cross in, and Maxi Falcone barely misses on the outstretched kick. And then from that moment on, there was just two instances of Maxi Falcone using his head. 63rd minute, takes one off the noggin and deflects it in. It is the one shining moment for Sporting Kansas City. And then 3 minutes later, worth noting, he goes to the ground to clear a ball that he has no business doing, but he did it for the fun and for the vibes and for the views and for the replays. Inter Miami coasts to a 3-1 victory in this leg, 4-1 on the tie. Inter Miami advances. Let's go, Herons.
This is a warning to Mr. Taylor Twellman. Scotty Grays is coming for your job, so better be careful.
Do you like that?
That was fantastic. Brilliant. I feel like it's a very good way of summing the game down. And for those who didn't get an opportunity to watch it in real time or did not get an opportunity to rewatch. Those were exactly the moments that I think stood out in that game. Overall, I think Inter Miami never had the need to get out of second gear. We played in cruise control for majority of it. There were instances where our defense was tested more than I would have liked to see. I think for the first part of the first half, we played well. We allowed Kansas City to have the little bit of a ball. And you mentioned it in the pregame show that they're going to come out hot and going to actually try and go for an equalizer because that could change the momentum. And that's what they were trying to do. Inter Miami dealt with the pressure well. And what I liked from the first till the 19th minute was our transition play. We were getting the ball out very quickly. And as soon as Messi got the ball in the middle of the park, there was enough space for him to then either run into the final third or distribute the ball to Suárez, Allende on the right side. Segovia was keeping a bit of width at the start as well. That's what led to the first goal. I think the first goal was a little bit harsh on Kansas City because it was a good play from Luis Suárez, a very well-placed assist from him, and then Messi taking that goal. It almost feels like no other player on that pitch could do that goal. And Messi made it look like it was rudimentary every other day that he scores it. And that's phenomenal. That changed the complexion of the game completely. And I thought after that, Kansas would probably buckle down and we may score a few. But I thought Inter Miami didn't necessarily capitalize that much. And
it felt like Sporting Kansas City came to play.
Yeah, they
came out. They wanted to make
Absolutely.
this a game. They wanted to put their best foot forward. And I thought they did, right? I know they kind of waved the white flag in the 60th minute or so when they took off some of their best scorers. But until that, I thought they were really trying to make a game of this. I'm proud of them. A lot of their fans were like, let's just focus on the weekend, play the bench guy, play the rookies. No, they came out to win this game as we should have expected, and we did expect because they are professionals. And then once Inter Miami scores that first goal, I think they really turned it on. They were nice for certain portions. They were able to get the ball into the box and get some shots off. They just couldn't quite clear.
They lacked that
final
quality to finish the chances, but they had chances. Astari had to make a couple of saves, come for the ball quickly. Our defense was getting a little bit opened up. I would like to say that we didn't get completely opened up and we maintained our structure, which allowed us to keep that scoreline down to 0 in the first half. But yeah, overall, I think Kansas played well. And I say majority of the first half, they might have been slightly better than us, albeit in front of the goal. And then we got the second goal, and then we got the third goal. Second goal, again, Messi with that beautiful ball to Jordi Alba, who up until then I didn't think had a great game. But I thought when he got to that byline and was about to cut the ball back in, he might go for Luis Suárez again. Really good movement from Allende to find that space and tap the ball in for an easy goal. Very well done. And then third goal is all Luis Suárez, right? Jake Davis with a bit of a howler. That was very, very unfortunate. It rarely happens. And then his defender didn't help him either because he didn't judge the bounce at all. And then Luis Suárez just bullying them off. 3 goals, 3 chances, converting every single one of them. Maybe shouldn't have been 3-0 at halftime, but that's what it was. And then the second half was a bit of a non-factor. We didn't particularly play well, kept giving the ball away, and it felt like we were quite tired by the end of the 90 minutes, but we still got the job done.
I think, again, you mentioned it before we went into the game. This team has so much quality. Inter Miami, I didn't think had a tremendous game, and I thought Sporting Kansas City played really well for what they are, and they still lost 3-1 because Inter Miami's going to have the guys that can take over the moments. When you get a mistake, they're going to convert. When you leave a space for someone to run into, they're going to convert, and the quality is just unbelievable. And then again, you get to the bench, and Sporting Kansas City is getting worse, and Inter Miami doesn't really have a drop off. It's impossible to deal with for teams like Sporting Kansas City, who are going to be fighting, on the upper end scale of their season. They're going to make the playoffs if they, that's what a good season would look like for them. So it's just going to be really difficult for Inter Miami this season to lose games without doing things like getting a red card early or giving away penalties or just having a howler from someone in the back. This is going to be a team that wins a lot of games this year.
Yeah, and we are our worst enemy. We saw that against New York City as well. So I completely agree with you. We are going to be the architects of our own demise if that ever happens. I will say the second half looked fairly sloppy. The more I think about it, the more I realize there were a lot of instances where we were trying to play a little bit too quickly, and then nothing would come off in the final third. We would go all the way back and then give the ball away, or we'd get under pressure from Kansas, get the ball back and just boot it out long. I think one negative aspect of having Suárez as our striker is that he doesn't necessarily hold the ball up well. So that doesn't allow Inter Miami to get the pressure off them with somebody high up top. Hopefully, when that backup striker comes in, we'll have an option like we did last year with Campana, who could come on and take the pressure off by just holding the ball up higher up the pitch, even if it doesn't lead to goal creating opportunities. The second part of that I want to talk about is once Messi came off, I liked the fact that we didn't necessarily stop creating chances. There were instances we were getting in front of goal as well. Allende, I think, had a couple of chances that he created for Segovia. I'm not sure if that was when Messi was on the pitch, but once Segovia moved into the middle, it didn't feel like we completely lost the bite or the creative outlet to create opportunities, which for me is most promising because going into games where Messi might not be starting, we still have the ability and the fluidity up top to start creating those opportunities. Last year, we saw when Messi didn't play for a long stretch, our scorelines were limited to 2-1, 1-0, 2-0. They were low-scoring games. We weren't scoring that many goals. Now I feel like we will create opportunities regardless of Messi being on the pitch or not. But he is obviously going to be that game changer. But there's enough firepower in this team.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And maybe we should have a conversation about this after we get through awards about what this team should do going into the weekend. We knew that after a freezing cold week last week, it was going to be very tough. And it was even made harder after going down to 10 minutes and really having an exhausting 90-plus minutes against NYCFC on Saturday, that it was going to be difficult to get through this game. And the fact that we got a couple goals in the first half, at halftime it was over. Both teams really knew that. And so it was good for us to be able to take our foot off the gas, have fun with it, create a few chances here and there or whatever. But it was more about, let's just kill this game off. Let's see it through. And so we didn't need to see the quality. We didn't need to exert ourselves or overexert ourselves in order to get the result. We kind of cruised through that second half. That's what it felt like to me. I know Sporting Kansas City had a couple moments that, they scored a goal. But in reality, it felt like Inter Miami was very much playing the way they wanted to play in the second half. And that's a great thing to see for a team that's in a continental tournament in the second half of the second leg to just be able to cruise through.
Yeah. And this just bodes well because last season at this point, and I know we talked about this offline, at this point last season, we were barely a team. We had players who had not come in yet. We were putting players in positions they weren't comfortable in. It didn't feel like Inter Miami had an identity. It didn't feel like we had a fixed pattern of play or a formation for that matter, because at this point last season, we were playing a 3 at the back, if you remember correctly. Now, I feel like we're much further along in our progression of where we should be in the season. So much so where we actually feel like a well-drilled team. There's still a couple of pieces to come in. So you are going to embed them eventually as well. But Maxi Falcon fit in seamlessly. Segovia, I think, is finding his footing still, but getting acquainted, playing in that number 10 role. I think he's going to be an interesting one to see where they play him, whether it's on the left-hand side of the middle. Allende already on the score sheet a fair few times. So we are having all our new signings perform, make those contributions. Lujan already having a big contribution this season. So in terms of where we should be at the start of the season, I think our progress is very promising and much further ahead than I thought we would be.
Yeah,
under a new coach.
I'm probably, I made this statement last night that I think Inter Miami is going to win the CONCACAF Champions Cup. And I would double down on it today. But one of the reasons, if you look at how and why they lost to Monterrey last year, there's just so many issues with that team that didn't show up on that evening in Monterrey. And we knew the red card at home was a killer, but this team is in such a better spot. The chemistry, the understanding of what they want to do. And I think just the depth and roster playing together gels so much better than they did at this time a year ago. I think they know what they want to do. I think they know what they are. And again, we're not going to have to play anybody like that for another month. So I feel really good about this team's chances in this tournament. And I thought really the biggest potential hurdle up until the semifinals was Kansas City, because who knows what could happen in the snow. And then if you don't get the result you need there, then all of a sudden you're panicking home and it's the third game of the season. But now that they've gotten through that, I feel confident they're going to get through Cavalier. And then you're into the season by the time you're playing an LAFC or the Columbus Crew. By the way, LAFC did win last night. So it is they're going to face the Columbus Crew, and those two teams will face off, and the winner will play the winner of us and Cavalier. So it's intense, but I think LAFC is worse than they were last year. And I think the Columbus Crew are definitely worse than they were last year because they lost Cucho Hernandez. So I feel good about Inter Miami's path and Monterrey potentially in the semifinals. I think this team is going to really relish in the idea of getting revenge on them. And I think they're much more prepared to do it than they were a year ago. So I really like where this team's at, honestly.
Yeah, I might jump on your bandwagon soon saying that we are probably on the path to win this, because I'm very close to saying that. But I think we are probably going to stand in our own way if anything goes wrong. So I don't think Columbus or LAFC at this point in the season can beat this Inter Miami team. The only way that happens is if we make errors or just not play up to the potential that we have. On paper, Inter Miami are favorites to win the CONCACAF Champions Cup. As simple as that.
Yeah, and there's always the chance something could happen. Someone could get abducted by aliens or whatever. So
100%.
Caveats, of course. By the way, I just wanted to say this. We'll get back to the game in a second. But Kareem says the Argentine window is closed. That doesn't affect Inter Miami's ability to bring in players. That just means that they can't bring in another player to replace him. So that won't affect any MLS team trying to bring in a player from Argentina. Just FYI. Okay, getting back to the game. I liked Inter Miami. It felt like did a lot of what they did on Saturday, where they were trying to play those cross balls. They fell with the better weather. They had the players that could do that. We didn't see it a ton in that first game against Sporting Kansas City, but it was almost impossible because of the weather conditions. That ball down the right side, we saw it to Kramaski a lot. We really liked it on Saturday. We saw it again to Tadeo Allende. Didn't quite come off as much. I think he had a few heavy touches, but there's something there, and he does get his goal. So
when it did come off, it looked good because there's just acres of space in front of him to run into, and he's really good with running with the ball. And there were a couple of instances where he brought it down really well as well. I think that's going to come with time, as in how we start doing that more often. And I'd like to see us do that more often. It's going to come with time. There's just so much space on that side of the pitch.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's amazing we didn't ever use that over the last year and a half. But this is a player in Tadeo Allende who we'll probably talk about more in 20 minutes. But he's a guy that didn't play a ton of soccer last year, and so for him to be working himself into the groove of things shouldn't be a surprise. I do expect his touch, his finishing to be much better in 10 games than it is now.
But most importantly, he's getting it right in front of goal, and that's what matters, right?
Yeah, and I also like the. Okay. Is there anything else about this game that really stood out to you in the first half? Because I do want to talk about the substitution decisions. I want to talk about Javier Mascherano, but it felt like the game went to plan. We got the early goals. We took advantage of mistakes, and they were just like, even though Sporting Kansas City came to play, Inter Miami still had the quality advantage in this game.
Yeah, and just something I think we're going to touch upon constantly, and we've already talked about this, but it's really interesting how Inter Miami's attack has two different dimensions to it. And when it actually starts flowing together, when the left side also starts clicking, we did score a goal from the left side today. So it's not like we didn't score from there. I think once we have that balance sorted out, whether we want Segovia to be central or whether we want him to stretch the pitch out, there's just too many different options for teams to deal with. And that's going to create problems every single game. I love it. I love the way it's been set up. And it's just a repetition now. It feels like once the ball goes into Messi centrally, that's it. You know exactly what's going to happen. He's either going to find that really smooth ball in like he did with Suárez, or he's going to go out left with Alba. And then when the ball is further back with Alba or Busquets, you know it's going to go cross to Allende to the right-hand side. So it almost feels inevitable, and I would like to see how we deal with low blocks where there's absolutely no space to break down an opposition, because I think that's the kind of style that we haven't necessarily fully seen.
Yeah, I agree.
That might be an issue we face when we face a lesser team who sits back and just parks the bus against us. But very happy that Kansas didn't do that, because they had to come out and get a result, right?
Yeah, I think that's probably what we'll see next week against Cavalier. But that's, I think, a level of quality that we can handle. One of the things I am excited about, and we've seen Messi do this sometimes, is he has those little slip passes to his right, like in front of him to his right. And we saw it with Tadeo Allende. I'm sorry. We saw it with Velasco Segovia for the equalizer on Saturday night. I'm interested to see how he can pair with Tadeo Allende on those little runs where he can just sort of slip it through for an 8-yard pass, but get it beyond the defense and have Tadeo Allende run through and then get a shot on goal. I've got a fly flying in my face. I apologize. Yeah. Okay. Let's get into substitutions. Second half, Sporting Kansas City does get one back after Inter Miami's first substitution window. They brought on Toto Aviles. I'm sorry, they took off Toto Aviles and they brought on Noah Allen. That to me was just giving Noah Allen and Maxi Falcone an opportunity to work together. But you mentioned this last night, which I thought was a great observation. Maxi Falcone moved from the left to the right. I did think he looked better on the right side. He looked fine. He looked solid, good on the left, and he had the big moment, and we'll talk about that. But when he shifted to the right, he looked a little more comfortable and he looked a little bit more aggressive. I don't know if
that's the word I wanted to use. Yeah.
I don't know if it was like strategy. Like the right side has the freedom to be more aggressive because Toto's there and that's what it is. And the left side is supposed to be a little more conservative. I don't know if that's tactical, but it definitely felt like he was a little more comfortable.
Yeah, he was pushing up more. He was covering ground more quickly, and he was actually going up to the ball more quicker. So it was interesting. And I immediately noticed that switch as soon as Noah Allen came on. And I was surprised that Aviles got taken off because I thought, since he's not going to play against Cavalier, I didn't see a reason. But you mentioned a good point. It was to see how Allen and Falcone.
Do you agree, though? You think those two are going to start on Sunday against Houston?
I think they should. Aviles is not available. Honestly, I wouldn't mind if Lujan starts as well, but I feel like Lujan and Falcone hasn't been tested. So, yeah, exactly.
I feel like Falcone and Allen are like deserving of starts, unless you want to rest
Lujan's been playing well enough as well. I think he's had a good start as well. But those two are ahead of him. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
For sure.
Then they do score the goal. Again, it was kind of an unlucky situation. It's a shot on goal that Ustari's probably in a good position to save, but it just bounces off the side of the head of Maxi Falcone, redirects, nothing the goalkeeper could do. They get the goal back, and I do think at that moment you have to sit on your hands for a second. I think you might want to make some substitutions. You might want to get Messi off, but once they score one goal, you kind of have to sit on your hands just to make sure the momentum doesn't fly away from you. And if it does, you can make adjustments to that. Sporting Kansas City didn't really look dangerous from that point on, so it didn't get away from them. But finally, Messi comes off in the 69th minute for Benjamin Cremaschi. You mentioned Segovia goes to the middle, Cremaschi goes to the right, and Tadeo Allende goes to the left. Interesting substitution pattern. I like when you can make 3 subs with 1 sub, but I also thought it was really good to get Messi off. He didn't need to be playing those last 20 minutes, especially after what he had experienced the week before.
Yeah, first of all, going back to that goal that Kansas City scored, who knew that our centre-back had an eye for goal, right? What a finish. What an absolute finish. From so far out, gets that header into the back of the net. Brilliant. I think that definitely should count for Falcone's goal. Unfortunate, can't really do much with it. Exciting debut for Falcone, though. Got on the score sheet, and actually, no, it would have counted as a Kansas City goal because it was going on target. So, had a good performance as well. Noah Allen, I thought, looked really good when he came on. Segovia looked very good once he went into that number 10. And again, versatility. We have 3 players, 1 player coming on, 3 players changing positions. I think that's going to be the key for this team going forward. Benjamin Cremaschi on that right-hand side, I thought looked fresh, looked fast, looked sharp. Allende in that left-hand side can play that role, but Segovia was the one who benefited the most. You could see he was immediately getting on the ball a lot more, creating those quick passes into the forward lines. And I don't know if we created a clear-cut opportunity or not, but I think Segovia looked a lot more assured on the ball and knew how he wanted to play and where he wanted to be.
He profiles so well centrally. He really does.
And it's just his ability to win the ball, his ability to run. Somebody mentioned yesterday in the chat that he was gassed. I don't think so. I thought he looked like he was easily going, especially when he moved to the middle. But overall, I thought once the subs came on, we looked actually good. I thought there might be a drop in quality. There wasn't any. So I thought we were quite good.
Yeah, The last three subs come on in the 80th minute. Gonzalo Lujan, David Ruiz, and Robert Taylor. Not exactly transition substitutions. And it did feel at that point like we could have gotten another goal if we had more quality in transition. But, you know, with Suárez on the field, you're not going to be a great transition team. Do you want to play 5 minutes of, are we overreacting to this?
Are we overreacting to this in terms of how good the game was from Inter Miami? Are we overreacting to this in terms of the fact that we're going to win the CONCACAF Champions Cup? Or
Sorry. That was a yes or no question, and the answer needed to be yes. Are we overreacting to the fact that Gonzalo Lujan, Noah Allen, and Maxi Falcone all play before David Martinez?
No.
Do you think that's the depth chart in that order as of today?
Gonzalo Lujan on top?
No. So it going Noah Allen, then Gonzalo Lujan, and then David Martinez.
Yes, absolutely.
You think so? Not
Absolutely.
an overreaction.
No,
Because he is more of a veteran than those guys, but this is a game to get some minutes.
Let's just put it this way. I think Lujan has looked nice. He's finally killed the fly. Well done. Another thing Taylor Twellman has not done is kill a fly on podcast. Gonzalo Lujan, I think, has looked a lot more stable. He may not be as flashy as a center back and may not be as spectacular to watch, but he's done his job really well. That's what I like to see in my center back. David Martinez will pull off a really good thing in a game, but will also do something that makes me question it a little bit, slightly inconsistent. So I would put them almost at par with one another, I think, in terms of where they might be. Just Lujan slightly above because Martinez has proven that he's injury prone. And then Allen is in a whole world.
The David Martinez thing is so interesting because he is going to come back and have a incredible game where he looks so dangerous. And we're going to be like, wow,
Absolutely.
We need this guy on the pitch every single time. And like you said, he's going to have games where he lets up a goal going the other way, especially with Jordi Alba to his left.
But can we just take a moment about how far we've come with our defense since last season?
It's amazing. It's incredible.
Oof. Absolutely incredible. And yet we conceded 2 against New York City FC. How do we keep doing that?
Well, we did have down a man.
That's true.
Second, are we overreacting to this or not? Julian Gressel doesn't play, even though he probably would have been in line from a seniority perspective. He's gone. It feels like
he's out the door.
Yeah,
Absolutely
he did mention on his podcast that him and his agent and the team are sort of looking at trade options. It didn't feel like anything was sort of imminent. I still don't think anything is imminent, but now the season started and teams are getting a look at what they have on their roster. Maybe things will start to pick up. An injury here or there could really grease the wheels on a move, but they signed him to a 3-year contract plus 3-year contract. So he's got 2 more years on the contract. I think it's going to be a little more complicated than people think. I don't think Inter Miami really wants to eat money on it because that will sort of hold back some of their flexibility, both for this year and for next year. So I don't know if it's over yet, but I do think this is Javier Mascherano signaling to the front office that I don't plan on playing Julian Gressel.
And also there's a long time before the window closes. So there's plenty of time for him to sit on the bench and for us to find a option for him to leave to. I think it's over. Not overreacting at all.
Last thing, this isn't an overreacting or not, but Tyler Hall and Santi Morales both were on the bench last night. Both could have made their professional debuts. I think it would have been cool if you saved one substitute for the 89th minute and brought one of those guys on because I think that would have been really nice.
Yeah, give them minutes, especially in a game where Noah Allen got the captaincy. Give them a minute. It would be really nice to see. I do think eventually they'll get a minute, perhaps against on Sunday. We're playing Houston, right? Sunday against Houston would be maybe a chance for them to come on if we are not in a bit of an emergency situation. But I'm just glad they're on the bench and eventually they will get their chance.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else about this game? Are you ready to get into awards?
No, I think we've discussed enough. Overall, I think a good professional game for us. And I'll reiterate this as I've been doing this entire 2 days. Inter Miami never had to leave the second gear, which is great. Absolutely great.
Yeah. Okay. On this show, as you guys may know, we give out 6 awards, a Heron of the match, a Heron that flew north, and 2 individual awards each. So because I'm a gentleman, I will let you go first for this game. Who was Inter Miami's man of the match?
This might be a Drive Pink dialogue first, and we may need to reconsider changing the name of this award. It's Lionel Messi for a third time in a row.
I agree.
And I don't want to say problem, but I think the biggest factor is that there's no debate to this. Like, I could potentially consider giving it to somebody else.
I think it was a debate today. I think there was a debate for this game.
Such a close, like small, minute debate, perhaps.
Yeah.
Who else would you have given it to?
Well, I think Luis Suárez does get both a goal and an assist. And for the jump up in what he was last night versus what he provided earlier in the season.
I mean, he wasn't great last night either in large
he
parts.
He got 2 goal contributions, though. So
that is true. That is
hard to argue with the stats. But Messi with the goal that makes the game, starts it off.
And with the pre-assist that makes the other goal as well. So
well, not only that, he gets the pre-assist for his own goal because he was the one that pushed the ball wide to Suárez and then gets the return and the slam. And that was the most impressive goal too, right? Not to take away from Luis Suárez's that third goal right before halftime, but the Messi goal was like another moment of, put this game away, put this tie away, and let me do it in an impressive way too. Both his goals against Sporting Kansas City, I thought were really, really well done, well taken, not something a lot of players can do. And then, like you mentioned on the goal to Tadeo Allende, he was the guy that set up Jordi Alba in a position to put that ball in, gets the pre-assist. So excellent game from him. Glad he got off early. You mentioned that it might be a problem that we give him the man of the match every game. I will say, I think it was battered Herons. They started giving out the MOTM OTM, which is the man of the match other than Messi, which I appreciate. And I do want to shout them up.
We might want to rename this the Lionel Messi Award if we're going to keep giving it to him, because we can't copy the battered Heron. So
no.
It's a little frustrating that he's performing so well just for our podcast sake. But I think overall, there's absolutely no doubt that it has to be Messi. I do want to talk a little bit about him though, because this is different. Like, he's on a different level this season.
I agree.
It's not the same as last season.
I agree.
I don't know whether it's the switch to the middle. I don't know if he's coming fitter this season. He's feeling fresh. He likes the fact how the team is set up this time around, whether the coaching staff he's more comfortable with, whatever it is. He is dangerous more than ever, more than Messi has even looked for Inter Miami, because every time he gets the ball, especially in the center of that park, I'm off my feet and I'm thinking he's either going to make a pass that's going to unlock every single player that's in the opposition defense and create a goal-scoring opportunity, or he's just going to take a shot by himself and score. So as soon as the ball comes into him and there's even a glimmer of space ahead of him, I think it's over for the opposition right now. He's playing on a whole other level.
Yeah, and it's twofold in my opinion. One, he looks really good, confident,
Absolutely.
Athletic, quick. Like, I'm not like, I wonder if he maybe wasn't fully healed from the ankle injury he got in the Copa America. So we didn't get his absolute best in the second half of last season. I mean, we didn't know it at the time, but he looks to me the best he's looked since the Leagues Cup run in 2023, where he just came in and took over and it was incredible. Management of minutes. I think I'm becoming a little worried about Javier Mascherano's ability to manage, because
manage minutes. Don't go out putting out sweeping statements there that get clipped up.
Sorry. Yes, manage minutes, because he hasn't rotated much at all, and it feels like there's been some opportunities now. He's pushed the guys through the 3 games. He's pushed them through the entire preseason, and there's so much quality depth on here that it feels like it would be appropriate to rotate more. One of the things I didn't love last year was Tata Martino kind of choosing to rotate all 4 of the big 4 at the same time. So he would kind of give like all 4 of them 60 minutes off, 65 minutes off, and then bring them all on at the same time. I would love to see these guys get one off at a time and not destroy everything you have going on, but maybe 2 of them off at a time. But you don't need to sort of take off your 4 best players and feel like you're sacrificing a game when you have other guys that can fit in. And that might be a better way to rotate. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm curious to see how this happens.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I understand the managing minutes part completely. I agree with you that it's something to look out for. I can understand why Javier Mascherano hasn't done it yet. First game of the season, CONCACAF Champions Cup, you have to play the big 4. Second game of the season is the MLS. You have to play them in that opener. And then the third game is obviously you want to put the game to bed. This is the next game that's going to basically tell us exactly how willing he is and trusting he is of his other players. I think he's going to rotate in this game because his substitutions, the way he's played around with players and combinations, makes me think he trusts players more than Tata Martino did, especially our second string team. And against Houston on Sunday, whatever the team lineup is, that's going to tell us how Javier Mascherano is actually thinking about rotating. So I think the next game is going to be a big sign.
I hear what you're saying about the first 3 games, but I think more of my concern comes from the preseason where these guys basically start every game. Like we saw Julian Gressel
and
start
play long minutes.
we saw Julian Gressel start like 40 out of 41 games or something to start last year from the preseason into the deep part of the season. And I don't want to see Messi and Suárez and Busquets and Jordi Alba doing that. So we'll see. We'll see. Okay, you ready to get into our second award?
Absolutely. Your turn.
Okay, our second award always is the Heron that flew north. This is an award given to the player doing the wrong thing, because if you catch a Florida Heron flying north, especially for the winter, you know they're doing the wrong thing. They don't fly north for the winter. They don't fly anywhere for the winter because it's warm and sunny in South Florida, and that's what they love. So, fittingly, this award goes to the player who's doing the wrong thing. And for me, that was Ian Frey. We've hyped him up so much that it's only fair that we keep him a little bit accountable when he has a sloppy game. And I think sloppy is the word I would use to describe his game. A couple just errant passes where he just missed his target, had a couple sort of silly turnovers, and had a couple plays where he was kind of reaching for a foul and didn't get the call, and that resulted in a turnover. So sloppy game from Ian Frey, not down on him long-term or, even for the next game, but that I think is a fitting reason to give him the Heron that flew north for this game.
Yeah, hard to argue with that. I don't know who else I would have given it to. Jordi Alba had that assist. I don't think he was poor. I think Redondo was good. Segovia was decent. Allende had a goal. So Aviles was fine. Falcone was really good. Ian Frey, I think, was not the only person who had passes that were astray, but definitely one that stood out a little bit more.
And he didn't have the moment to make up for it either.
Absolutely. I think he started the game really well. He was silky with his touches and dribbling, but his passing really let him down this game. I don't know what it was. Maybe the fact that he was having to do a bit more defensive work, because Eric Tommy was actually really threatening in that first game. And this time around, he tried to get past Ian Frey, but Ian Frey was very strong and locked him down for large parts. So defensively, I thought Frey had a very good game. Offensively, I thought he could have done much better, and for sure his passing was errant at times, and he let the ball loose in dangerous places at times, a couple of times that gave them opportunity. Thankfully, nothing bad came out of it. And listen, I still thought that was a very good performance just by his standards and what we're used to from Ian Frey, who has very good passing, by the way. I thought it was a bit of a letdown, and compared to other players, he did look a little bit sloppy for sure. So I think it's just a learning curve and a progression, and this is how he's going to get better. And as we said, he doesn't have that many minutes in his legs for a player who's 19, right? So he's going to learn from this, absolutely.
Also, listen, we saw Jordi Alba have a similar game on the weekend. Like, this happens sometimes. So not reading too much into it. David mentions that he did a good job of keeping Eric Tommy quiet in a way that Cello couldn't the week before. I don't want to blame Cello too much for that because it was freezing cold. But, we think back to last year and people were in our chat when we were talking about starting Ian Frey and why is Cello starting and talking about Cello's defense. And it's like, it's not that. It's really not. It is, I guess, a chemistry or whatever's happening in practice. But from what's happening on the field, it's clearly Ian Frey. And I don't think that's much of a debate, really. Okay, first award, Saur, goes to you. What do you got for me today?
I've got 3 really good awards. So I don't know which one to start with, but I'm going to take this one early because you might have this one already. So I'm going to go for the Austringer Award. And this is something that it would depend on your vocabulary, because if you don't know what that means, I can't necessarily explain it without giving away what the award is. I will say this: it has something to do with a hobby. that involves hunting? The Ostringer Award. Take a guess. You have to take a guess.
I will take a guess. I'm looking at who is starting, what the starting lineup looks like.
Doesn't have to do with anything with Austrian or the country Austria.
Okay. I think I know what this is, but I'm not sure who it would apply to. I'm going to guess Luis Suárez because this is a person that like helps with equipment when you go on a hunt, right?
Sort of.
And that Luis Suárez is, there to help out for Lionel Messi. Is that right? Am I right?
No, you're quite
Okay.
far off.
What is this?
Somebody in this chat has it. So Ostringer is another word for falconry, and there's only one player who went on a hunt against Sporting Kansas City yesterday as a falcon, and that's Maxi Falcon, who's a bird for all intents and purposes. I tried to go with a barbershop reference or a hair reference, and I thought that's too obvious. And
I want you to know, I'm going to have a lot of bird references for him this season. I was trying to think of some today for him, and they were all bird related. So
yeah, so I had a bird related one as well, but I think I came up with a creative one that stumped you a little bit. Maxi Falcon. I think we had a bit of speculation about what his role on this team is, whether he actually fits the mold of what we've seen from him in the highlight packages. Is he even decent? What he's going to bring to the table? The first 90 minutes that I've seen from him, I am impressed. Very impressed.
I hate to judge a center back before like 4 or 5 games, but I agree with you. I thought it was a really good first game for Maxi Falcon. He has the huge moment that saves a goal, right? If Sporting Kansas City scores on that 29th minute shot from Dejan Jovic, that Maxi Falcon just was a veteran, went to the line, said, I can't make an impact on the play at the shooter, so let me cover space here on the goal line and potentially deflect a shot. Which is an incredibly veteran move, not something we've seen in Inter Miami in quite some time. It is that was a goal-saving play and probably like really changed the nature of that game, because if they score that goal, all of a sudden they're 1 goal away from advancing. Because if they win that game 2-1, they win on away goals on a draw. So that was a huge moment, and even though it just felt cool, we didn't know we were going to get the next 2 goals. Like it really did change the nature of the game. So huge moment there, and then solid on the ball. He had a couple errant passes, but just something you would say in a normal game. It wasn't a 10 out of 10, but it was like an 8.5.
No, it was tidy. It was solid,
Yeah.
and you could see his thought process during that save on the line where he almost ran forward to cover a defender, and he thought, okay, wait, I don't need to cover him. There's space in behind. I need to protect this, and he just stayed back. And I don't think he knew much about when the ball came on him, but he covered that, and that was his decision to stay there. So well done to him for that. But that wasn't even my favorite moment of him that entire game. My favorite moment was obviously when he I think that has to go in his highlight.
What are you doing with that? I don't understand why players do this, but whatever. If you go ahead.
No, you mean the one we're talking about. The one where he headed the ball when he could have kicked it. Mm-hmm. It was like, are you insane? Do you want to die? What are you trying to do? The other player could have kicked you in the face, essentially. And he had so much time, and for some reason, he just decided to dive in head first, just clear the ball, got really good connection on it, and it was like brushed it off completely. But it was hilarious to watch in that instance. I was like, what is happening?
You know what? He got hit in the head with that shot like 3 minutes earlier. So maybe he was still a little loosey, or maybe he just has a ton of protection on his head so that it doesn't actually hurt. And he's willing to take those shots because he's got, it's like basically a helmet on. You got extra padding.
But in all seriousness, I think I was validated with my argument that he seems to be a very good box defender because his position was really good at all times. He didn't seem like he is athletic, but he didn't need to be because he was in the right place at the right time at all times. Again, don't want to overhype this and over-sensationalize it, but a fantastic debut from a player who could be a very promising defender for Inter Miami.
I'm glad you gave him an award because he was on my list to give an award to, and I never actually got around to picking one of those that I was looking at. So I have 3 that I get to choose from now, and I appreciate that. And I don't have to worry about giving him one and making one up on the spot. I'm going to give the Birds of Prey award, which I thought was going to be much better when Maxi Falcone was still available. That would trick you a little bit. But now that he's off the board, who do you think gets the Birds of Prey award?
Allende, poacher's goal. Came at the right time and absolutely tapped it in.
No.
Oh.
Any other guesses? I'll give you a second guess.
Segovia, flying high.
I'm giving Noah Allen the Birds of Prey award because him and Falcone together are a couple of birds back there, and they're birds of prey. See, I took the bird theme beyond just Maxi Falcone.
But I'm giving to Noah Allen a bird though.
Yes, because he's a carnivore, and he gets in there, and he's got passion, and he's not afraid to get tough and rumble. And I thought we had to give something to Noah Allen, and I wanted to give it to them sort of as a partnership because I think they're going to play together a lot. And Maxi Falcone's obviously a bird, so it just all worked together. I thought he's the first homegrown player to wear the captain's armband for Inter Miami. He's been incredible all preseason, the end of last season, but the fact that his teammates and the coaches not just see him becoming a quality player, but see him be like a leader and really like deserve these types of recognitions. It's awesome to watch. It's so cool. And again, last night he had a moment where he tried to push it forward and it kind of got deflected. So he collects the deflection, kind of circles around, calm on the ball, and just circles out of trouble. And it was fine. Like, he's so good back there. It's unbelievable. It's undeniable. And that's sort of the only thing I can say about Noah Allen. But he had to get an award because, again, the first homegrown ever to wear the captain's armband for Inter Miami. Awesome moment for him. Awesome moment for Inter Miami. And the fact that Messi gave him the armband was just, again, they see it just like we see it, which is awesome.
His parents must be so proud of him. Someone coming from Miami, homegrown, come through the ranks in the club, and now captaining the team in a CONCACAF Champions Cup game. Yes, of course, Messi was there as the starter and the captain, but then taking over from him. Brilliant. How far have we come since last season? Last year, at this point, we didn't even think Noah Allen was a second choice left back. He wasn't even a backup last season at this point. And now he's potentially claiming to be a starting center back, a position that he's not even born to play. He's born to play as a left back, if you think about his actual positioning. So the fact that he's come this far is phenomenal to watch as fans. And for me, it was really heartwarming to see. I was very surprised when that came on the screen. I was like, oh, I thought he gave it to Jordi Alba.
I did too.
But Noah Allen,
he was like, hey, Jordi, come here. Yeah. I want you to do me something. Give this to Noah. No, don't take it. Give it to Noah for me.
Yeah, no. When we talk about improvement, this is exponential. We're going to do our draft sometime in the next few weeks, right? The first phase of our draft. And he's going to rank high, man. He's going to rank very high because he's just performing at that level. Mr. Dependable right now.
I have a fun fact just to show you how much he's improved. I've been looking into that Monterrey tie over the last 24 hours. He started at center back for us against Monterrey in a back three last year. So if you want to think back to where he was positioned, he was third string left back and not even on the depth chart as a center back. That's where Inter Miami was as a team when they actually had to go to Monterrey from an injury perspective, from a depth perspective. Noah Allen was a starter. Fast forward a year, not only do we have much better depth at center back, but he's a guy that's actually standing out trying to be a starter and being one of the top two for Noah Allen. So it's incredible.
Yep. Very excited for him this season.
Tell me who is your second award. Tell me what is your second award.
I'm going to go with the Call Him CH4 award.
Say it again.
Call Him CH4 award. And this tests your chemistry.
I was bad at chemistry. The Call Him CH4 award goes to Tadeo Allende.
Close.
CH4.
Could apply to him. Do you want me to tell you what CH4 is?
Yes, I do.
CH4 is methane for you guys, methane for me.
Methane.
So
Okay.
methane.
So it smells bad. What's the reference?
It doesn't smell.
It doesn't
It's
smell,
the
but it's
silent killer.
destructive. Okay.
It's the silent killer. I'm going to leave it at that. Take a guess, and then I'll tell you who the player is.
Well, if it's not Tadeo Allende, I'm going to guess Velasco Segovia.
It's Federico Redondo.
Okay.
I thought
Were they even award?
Yeah, last game. This game against Kansas City. Didn't see him. Didn't see him in terms of him being flashy. Didn't see him in terms of him giving the ball away, doing anything stupid, not being in a position. Where I did see him was winning the ball, getting interceptions, playing really well in terms of his defensive presence in that middle of the park, and running his guts out. I thought he had a very positive performance, probably the best we've seen from him this season and in a while. And I think he needs to be commended for that. Silently, a very, very good game from him. In a game where our backline was constantly put under pressure, it wasn't because we were getting beat in the middle. And I think Redondo held his own in the middle of that park, won balls in crucial moments, progressed the ball well, and kept it simple, kept it easy. I thought had a really good game.
I agree. It feels like so much of our conversation about Federico Redondo is in comparison to Yannick Bright, and I want to leave that off of tonight.
I don't want to talk about that. Yeah,
I agree. I thought for Federico Redondo, this was like a big step forward. One of the things he feels like he's always struggled with is just his positioning defensively, knowing where to be, knowing how to put his body in the way, knowing how to make it more difficult for the opposition, and especially in transition. And he was better. I think this might have been his best performance in those regards since he came to Inter Miami, really. So I think he's very worthy of an award. I don't know if this is the right award for him, but I didn't have one, so I'm glad you gave him one because it was worthy.
For your reference, he had 47 passes, which is not that high, but 94% pass completion. He had 5 long balls, of which 3 were accurate, 1 successful dribble. He had 11 ground duels, of which he won 8 of them. So he had a very impressive performance, especially defensively. And I thought he was very, very good this game.
Yeah, I did too. A step in the right direction for sure. Now, can he combine that with scoring a goal or, being a threat going forward? Hopefully, that's where he's going.
Step by step, right?
But this was, I think, something we haven't seen from him, and I agree that should not have gone without an award. So good award. Call him CH4. But anyways, okay, my second award.
Want me to be honest with you?
Go ahead.
I actually thought of that award for Allende, and then I changed it because I think it fits Redondo better.
Okay. Then let me give out. I have 2 that I like. Let me give out the Cuatro Besos award. Cuatro Besos.
I mean, the French kissed thrice in the cheek. 4 kisses. That's a weird one. Valentine's Day. It's not if you know it. So I don't know if what you're implying, Scotty, but Cuatro Besos award. Who have we not given an award to? Allende, perhaps. Aviles, maybe. Busquets. Alba. Suárez. I'm going to go with Suárez.
It's Luis Suárez because that's his celebration, man.
Yeah. That's 3.
4 kisses. No, he's got 3 fingers and then he kisses the back of his hand. 4 kisses. The Cuatro Besos award. Proud of you for getting that. I know not the most creative, but that's the thing about Luis Suárez. It's not always going to be magnificent, but it gets the job done. He took advantage of the mistake, scores a goal. I've already said a number of times, it's about the hips, not the knees. That's what you got to pay attention to. I think we saw that.
Hips don't lie, baby.
Goal. Hips don't lie. I know. I really shied away from like a Shakira award name, and I hope you appreciated that. But as long as the hips are working fine, he's going to continue to score goals. He gets an assist. He was not great for 90 minutes, but he gets 2 goal contributions in the second leg of a CONCACAF Champions Cup game. What more could you ask from this guy?
I've already decided to be the biggest Luis Suárez detractor this season. I feel like that's become part of my personality, so I can't go away from that. I'll just be very honest.
You actually
But-
don't have to commit to that. You can change your mind on that.
No.
I'm giving you permission.
I've committed to it though. I've gone in that direction. I want to go in that direction. You can't deviate me from my path, Scotty. But I will say, I will admit, every time he has a good contribution and has a good game. Yesterday wasn't the best game from him by any means, but that's what you get from Luis Suarez. Doesn't perform well and still gets on the score sheet and an assist twice, 2-goal contributions, gets the team out of danger, does exactly what we've signed him to do, that is score goals. And it was a really good goal. He took the goal really well, used his strength, and shot the ball in the right direction into the goal. I thought there were a couple of games.
Goal. That was a nice goal.
Really good goal.
To body off the player and then to put it into the far corner. That was a nice goal.
2 players misjudged it, and he just absolutely took advantage of it. Last couple of games, he could have scored. He had chances. He just did not bury them. And this time around, there was a tough opportunity. He took it and scored really well. He will get the job done when it needs to happen. He will score. And as long as he continues to do this, I'm fine with it. I'll still complain about him not performing for 90 minutes, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to contribute to the team's victory.
It'll be interesting to see how Alan Obando gets used, because he's coming on loan to develop, and he's not going to develop if he doesn't play at all. Now, listen, Leo Campana played a ton last year, so I'm not a ton, but he played enough last year to fit Alan Obando. But it'll be interesting to see how they rotate them, because that's the one position we haven't really seen Javier Mascherano have a second option to go to, not just because things aren't working, but just to get Suárez off his feet or whatever. So it'll be interesting to see how that warms up. Okay, any other players that you think really need to be talked about? Tadeo Allende gets the goal. He looked like a striker. I had an award for him. He's a basketball player. He has the athleticism of a basketball player, and it's weird, but he can get up there. He can get vertical. He makes those long runs really well. I think he had a little bit of a heavy touch on like 3 or 4 occasions last night, and if he could have gotten those right, we could have put a few more goals together on the board. But he gets his goal, and I think we're starting to see what he is as a player, and he does some nice things.
He's actually really improving. His skill set is shining now. I think in the first couple of games, that wasn't him. He was just getting up to speed physically. Now he looks slick. He looks sharp. His runs are really good. As you said, looks like a striker almost sometimes, the way he plays, the way he makes those runs, the way he moves and finds the spaces in the middle of the box. That goal was a poacher's goal. That's what Suárez would have been doing when he was young, right? And I like that from Allende, giving those extra options in the middle for those cutbacks. And then he's also making those runs in the right wing, making himself an option there. I think there's another elevation for him. There's another level that he's going to reach, and I'm excited to see when that happens.
Why is he a winger?
Like
that's not just an Inter Miami thing. He was a winger for Celta. He was a winger for.
He has pace. He has
Cruz.
Strength. He's silky. He dribbles well.
Those are striker qualities.
Not always. I don't think. Wow. I think he has the ability to take players on, and I think he can do as both. So I don't mind him playing as a winger.
By the way, he turned 26 last week, so happy birthday to him. He gets an award, his first award from the Dry Pink Dialogue. I don't know. We should probably keep better track.
Yeah,
we do keep track, but I don't have him on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, he was. Oh, he didn't even get an award. What are we talking
about? Sorry, guys, we're a bit rusty. We're still getting into the groove of the season.
Busquets, solid as always. Nothing really to concern ourselves with. No. I thought Toto Aviles looked redemptive. Solid, didn't have any mistakes, didn't cost Inter Miami in any way. Jordi Alba gets an assist. He looked better after a poor performance on Saturday
I think he got better as the game progressed.
I agree. I would agree with that. I think once he got the assist, I thought he was really good. Again, he had less than Saturday, but a few times where he kind of came centrally to take the ball running through the midfield, which is an interesting little dynamic. Off the bench, Noah Allen, we talked about. Benjamin Kramaski, again on that right side. It was a different point in the game, so we didn't get to see what we got to see on Saturday. Yeah. But and then the 3 guys off the bench, I don't know if we saw a ton to get excited about or nervous about. So overall, good game. Anyone else on your mind?
No, I think that's about it. Ustari, I think, was fine. I thought he had a better performance against New York City.
Oh, for sure.
He was okay. His passing was a bit errant as well, but he wasn't the only one. So Can't blame him entirely. But yeah, overall, I thought he had a positive game.
We actually, thank you, Miami King. We didn't talk about Segovia. What do you think of his performance?
I liked it. I mentioned it earlier. I think there's a little bit of a question mark about how well he plays on the left compared to in the middle. The biggest difference for me this game was you could instantly see how much more comfortable he was in the middle of that park and how much more effective he was in the middle of that park because he was getting involved a lot more, coming in deeper for that ball, distributing the ball, and actually having an effect on the game. On the left, it almost feels like he maybe gets bypassed because Alba's on that side, so he's making those runs in behind, or comes in and maybe clogs up the space a little bit and doesn't add too much to the attacking fluidity. So he's a great player, and I still think he's going to be one of my favorite players this season. We just need to find the right role for him. And I don't think he had a poor performance. I don't think he had an average performance. He had a good performance.
Yeah, he almost got an assist.
Yeah,
he actually had a really
and a
nice
goal.
ball.
Almost had an assist and a goal as well. He had
You're right.
Allende had a cutback where he hit it straight outside of the post instead of towards goal. So he had some good.
That assist though, the potential assist. I think it was the 52nd minute.
That was a Messi-esque ball.
It was 51st minute. Messi puts the ball to Segovia right at the edge of the box, and Segovia just kind of like flicks it where no one was expecting to go, and Messi's making that run and puts a nice shot on target. It just happened to be right at Pulskamp. But those like little moments of quality are what give me a ton of confidence that this player is a real player. I kind of want to see him on the right because there's so much space there. If you put him there, I think he could do real good. But I understand why Javier Mascherano's played him where he has, but I think he's going to sometimes get lower ratings there because the goals and assists aren't going to come. The key passes aren't going to come because he's just supposed to provide quality there, but you're not maximizing his skill set. Yeah. But in a lineup with all these other superstars, the goal is not to maximize Selasco.
I think he plays centrally on Sunday.
Okay, so that's the last topic that I wanted to talk about today. Next Thursday, we'll play Cavalier at home. So you don't get the second leg at home, which means you kind of want to put up a crooked number at home to make sure that game in Jamaica is, out of reach. But that leaves this weekend's game Sunday. It is a second game of the season. Because they don't win in the first week, it almost adds more pressure to win in week 2 because you don't want to be sitting on 2 points when there's teams with 6 points. You don't want to be sitting on 1 point, and it is away at Houston. We get an extra day of rest, so that's nice. How are you feeling about this game just overall?
First away game of the season, first Sunday game of the season
from
Miami's playing from the MLS, yes. And yeah, first Sunday game, Houston. Honestly, at this point, I'm concerned more about the CONCACAF Champions Cup. So the MLS is sort of like a back. It's not at the top of my mind. It's at the back of my head. And I don't think Inter Miami should be going all out in terms of putting out its preferred starting 11. Messi should rest. I think he maybe should get 20 minutes off the bench. Busquets should rest. If Bright is available, start Redondo, Bright, and Segovia in the middle. I think we need to rotate on Sunday. Absolutely.
What about at right back? Do you want to see Gonzalo Lujan?
Yeah, I think Ian Frey has been playing a fair few minutes already. His injury record isn't great, obviously. I want to see him rest for a little bit. And he may need to play against Cavalier. So
he's going to have to play against Cavalier. So that I think that's the thing is I want Frey to play next Thursday against Cavalier. And if that means you have to sit him on Sunday, that's fine. The following week, you have the trip to Jamaica. There's an MLS game next weekend as well. So I don't think you want to play Ian Frey in that stadium in Jamaica either. So I think you get him 2 games next week, get him this weekend off, and get that following midweek game off, and then you kind of go from there. And then maybe Cello gets back into the picture at some point. So I kind of want to see Gonzalo Lujan, or maybe it's Tyler Hall, or maybe it's Kermaski, or whoever is that next choice at right back. I kind of want to see them get a start so that we know if they're ready to go on the road to Jamaica and play 90 minutes there. So I would look for that. Maxi Falcone and Noah Allen, I think, are going to start at center back. I think Jordi Alba's probably going to start at left back, which is what it is.
I'm okay with. Unless they play, I'm trying to think. No, we can't do that, can we? Because if Luhan plays right back, then Maxi Falcone and Allen have to start in the center. Maybe Ryan Saylor. I don't
I
know.
want you to know, thinking to yourself and then saying out loud, no, we can't do that without explaining what you were talking about
That is
tremendous
peak
podcasting.
podcasting
Yeah.
skills. That is the reason why we have almost 580 subscribers, guys. This is what the elite content you come to us for.
Yes. No, but I wouldn't mind seeing a Tyler Hall, Santi Morales, like Leo Alfonso. There are guys I would love to see play against Houston. And by the way, I think those guys can go on the road and get a win for us. This Houston team lost basically their midfield. Hector Herrera left the team, I believe. And then Coco Carrasquilla also left the team. So that dynamic midfield they had a year and a half ago that many Miami fans remember from the US Open Cup, that's broken up. They got some new players in, some young players, but they're still coming together. This is a game they can go out and win without Messi and Suárez playing a huge role or playing 90 minutes. So I would like to see them come off the bench. Maybe Tadeo Allende gets a started striker. Obviously, Fafa is not available. So we'll see how it goes. Robert Taylor. I'm a little worried that Javier Mascherano is going to play the A team. I'm a little worried he's the guy that just plays them until they run they get run into the ground. I don't know why, but it just feels that way to me.
Maybe. I'd like to give him the benefit of doubt just because I don't want to do that. So, I mean, I don't want to run the players into the ground. So I'm going to assume it's probably going to be Robert Taylor left, Benjamin Kramaski right, Allende up top, Segovia number 10, Redondo, Busquets in the middle, Redondo, Ruiz in the middle perhaps, and then the back four that we talked about, and maybe Rios Novo getting a start.
No, definitely not. Yeah. It would be cool if Drake Calendar got a start, but definitely not Rios Novo.
Yeah.
The Drake Calendar thing is another conversation for another day. Okay, Saur, anything else on your mind? I mean, hopefully Alan Obando news continues to progress positively. We are going to get a 3-day break from the podcast. I'm sure we'll miss you guys, and maybe there will be a giant edition that we have to go live for. We won't wait that long. But any final words on this Sporting Kansas City game or Sporting Kansas City's tie, or really how this season's opened up?
The Herons go marching on to the next round. Cavalier, here we come. But first stop, MLS, Houston. Let's go get the 3 points. We still don't have a win in the MLS, so time to change that. I think our second team can do it. I hope we have a good weekend. And then next week, back to the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and time to proceed and become victors soon in that tournament.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for getting in the chat. Anyone that's listening to this on audio, thank you so much for participating in this. You guys are what makes this great. We will be back Sunday, 1 hour before kickoff, live on YouTube for our usual pregame show. But until then, hope you guys have a wonderful week. We will see you next time. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. Since our first viewer, sharing this with you all has been the very best part. So from the beginning until the end, thank you for being a part of this and have a wonderful day.